we need to talk about support McGinnis. In this match, I'm going to be reviewing Quig's POV from the recent tournament Downtown Showdown. His team got second place, and in this match, they upset Mahjong and Krill, who were the winners of the tournament. We're going to look at his gameplay and try to explain and break down some of the plays that he's making and explain why support McGinnis is rated so highly right now in competitive play and how you can apply some of those principles in your pubs to win more as McGinnis. We're going to start with the laning stage. So McGinnis' game plan in the laning stage is fairly simple. You want to keep the wave as close to your tower as possible by using your wall, and you're basically just playing to survive the lane by using your heal and buying healing right and other healing items. Essentially, your goal is not to bully them or kill them. You can take those kills and opportunities if they present themselves, but your main focus is just to get the creeps and not lose your tower. So as you can see here, there's not a whole lot of harass going on, especially in the first waves. Wall is being used mostly to just secure creeps, so make sure the enemies can't deny, and kind of play the wave a little bit defensively. We're going to see the early items being bought are going to be monster rounds, basic mag, and healing right. And those items are basically just to ensure that they can deal with the waves and they can survive it, right? So you're going to see there's not going to be a whole lot of, kill pressure or things from the McGinnis in the pocket. This is also, they're playing against a very strong lane. They're playing against Viscous and Yamato. If they were playing against a weaker lane, potentially they'd be more aggressive. But against Viscous, Yamato, the enemy team has a ton of nuke and a ton of killing potential, whereas McGinnis pocket has a little bit less early on. So they're going to be more on the back foot. So here, as soon as they get hurt, the second ability that's going to be skilled is Medicinal Spectre. So the turrets are more of an afterthought in this build. You guys are going to see that the turrets don't have a whole lot of play throughout the game. Sometimes they're useful to push objectives, etc. But in this build, there's very, very little focus around them. And it's mostly around just like surviving and healing up. So Medicinal Spectre is used. Basic mag and monster rounds were bought. And then the next item we're going to see is Healing Right, which makes sense because they're pretty hurt in this lane. They're sustaining a lot of damage, and Healing Right builds into Health Nova, which is one of the main reasons why it's also bought. So here, he's half. He's going to buy Healing Right, use it on himself. They're going to farm the small camp, and while they're certainly not dominating this lane, they're also, ahead by roughly 100, 200 souls at the moment. So it's a pretty even lane, and that's just, because they can sustain, they can use the wall defensively, and it's very hard for the enemy team to go on them. Here we can see there's a little bit of aggression, but the wall cuts off his teammate, and therefore no kills happen. And they take a lot of damage, but it's fine because they have the McGinnis heal, and just with the McGinnis heal, as well as the heal creep, they're going to get back to almost full. This is essentially how you want to play the laning stage as the support McGinnis build. So you're basically just focusing on sustaining through whatever. You don't actually have a lot of killing potential as this build in the beginning. So we're going to fast forward past the laning stage because there's not really anything other than, what I just mentioned that's very interesting. It's literally just this for 5 more minutes where they're surviving and just, buys extra stamina, buys Health Nova, and then they're just like really, really hard to kill. So I want to talk about McGinnis sieging potential early on. So here it's 7 minutes into the game. McGinnis has, I believe, 2 points in her wall. And they can use the wall to basically just siege the tower. The wall at this point gives bonus damage as soon as you have 1 point in it. So if you use the wall, then you do 25% bonus damage to the tower. And with monster rounds and basic mag, you do a lot of weapon damage to towers. Here we're also seeing McGinnis escape, and with some really good movement, as well as a really good wall here, she's going to be able to escape from this situation. This is another example of kind of what you want from support McGinnis, which is just a character that's really annoying, has a lot of utility, and is just like super hard to kill. So as you can see there, she was able to escape mostly thanks to her wall, as well as just good movement. The wall jump was really sick there. And later into the game, she's going to have even more of that kind of utility as soon as she gets, a bigger heal that heals percent health. She's just going to be insanely tanky and always poses a threat to buildings just because of her wall damage amp, as well as just monster rounds, basic mag. She's always going to do a lot of damage. If you leave her at a tower for just like 30 seconds a minute, that tower will die. So here we see another example of a similar thing. They're going to wall, they're putting the heal up, and then the enemy team, Mahjong and Krill, responds to the aggression with a quick rotation. As you can see on the minimap, there's 3 members of Mahjong and Krill nearby. You could say 4 with Ivy, who are just there ready to respond to the McGinnis pressure. So here you'll see the moment that something else is happening on the map, McGinnis is going to take advantage of this to pressure the tower here. So she gets rolled on by the ball, but she's still going to just focus on the tower, and she's going to try to ignore the Viscous as best as she can. The Viscous is doing a really good job pushing her away though, so she has to run. But you'll see like just how annoying she is to kill. And the moment that a lot of people go on McGinnis, the entire team responds back, and they're essentially baiting the McGinnis just because of how hard she is to kill in order to get, you know, return kills. So here there's a black hole, doesn't kill a whole lot of people, and it's a little bit of a skirmish. McGinnis has the high ground and she's just shooting, and this looks to be in favor of the of Quig's team, the McGinnis player, as they're going to be able to take the tower. And you're going to see this is going to repeat itself through the game. McGinnis is applying pressure, sieging something, and you know, she might get gone on. She gets a little bit baited by her team, and then her team collapses on the people going on the McGinnis just because she takes so long to kill, especially when she gets the upgraded heal before. And now she's moved on to the next objective. She's going to take this tower very quickly, and this is also partly what makes support McGinnis strong. As you can see, the goo is just going on her, but she's just doing her best to just ignore him, stay alive, stay annoying. Mahjong and Krill does respond to this, and they do manage to kill the people, but they did lose their tower in the process. So even though they managed to actually, you know, win the fight, they're now down 4 towers. So Quig's team has a flex slot, while Mahjong and Krill doesn't have a flex slot, and they have to take down 3 towers to get the flex slot. So this is a pretty significant advantage to have early on. I want to take a second to just talk about the itemization a little bit. So he got Mystic Reach. Mystic Reach is mostly used for, well, a couple things. It's like kind of nice for the ult, but it's also really nice for the healing Medicinal Spectre because it benefits from it. So the healing radius is 6.3 meters now instead of the basic 5 meter. And this scales with Spirit. So the longer the game goes, the more valuable Mystic Reach becomes because the base radius scales with Spirit. And then an additional 18% thanks to Mystic Reach will get applied. So the green items are really just for survivability. Health Nova is to amplify any healing done. This works on, sorry, not Health Nova. Healing Booster is used to amplify any healing done. This works on both Medicinal Spectre as well as Health Nova, as well as the next item, which will be Rescue Beam. So it just makes a lot of sense to go Healing Booster on this build because you are doing a lot of healing with all of your different abilities and different items. So as you can see, the next items that were purchased were Rescue Beam and then Slowing Bullets. Slowing Bullets is really for the utility factor. So as support McGinnis, you're not going to be doing a ton of damage, but you are still going to be shooting your gun a fair amount. So having something like Slowing Bullets just enables your team to be able to catch people a little bit easier with the fact that you're slowing them. And it's just like a pretty good item at the moment. So now the game plan for McGinnis remains the same. As you can see, there's a lot of pressure on the other side of the map, and McGinnis sees this opportunity and goes to pressure this walker instead of showing up to this fight. Now, the moment that McGinnis is left alone, she can usually get objectives very quickly. So you can see she's left alone for just 20 seconds on this walker, and she's just going to commit to it, regardless of the fact that there's a player on her. And she's just going to die for this, essentially, right? It's okay if she dies here because she got a walker, and even though 2 people went on her, she was still really hard to kill, and the Yamato had to ult for her. So overall, the Yamato had to ult, she got the walker, so she's pretty decent exchange for her at the end of the day. So the itemization continues with the same idea. Bullet armor is the next item that's bought. The idea behind bullet armor is just really being tankier and more annoying and harder to kill. And you'll see like most of the items being purchased are going to be either to enable her team to do more damage or catch people easier, or to survive more herself. So that's really the game plan behind support McGinnis. You just want to be as hard to kill as possible, and you want to get items that enable your teams, such as slowing bullets, such as heroic aura, and things like that. Talking about the skill build a little bit. The skill build that was used this game was 2 points in wall to get the damage amp as well as the minus 14 second cooldown, 2 points in heal to get the fire rate and the cooldown, and then maxing wall first. So we see a lot of support McGinnis actually max heal first, and I would say that in most situations this is probably the correct thing to do. However, the reason that McGinnis in this game maxed wall first is because she's playing against Dynamo. And they don't have any other super reliable way to stop the Dynamo ult. They have Lash ult, which could help them, and Moan Krill is not really useful against that. So the Lash ult is really the only other thing that could stop the black hole. But it's not very reliable, and it's a super long cooldown, and the Lash has to be ready for it. Whereas McGinnis Wall is a very, very wide, long-range stun, which is like extremely reliable at stopping the Dynamo ult. So I would say that's the main reason that she maxed wall first in this game. In other games, you know, she may have maxed heal first. So here you can see McGinnis once again is going to apply pressure on an objective, the walker. Even if she's not left alone, you see just how fast that objective is going down. They're going to be able to almost take it down. I do believe that she will die here, and I think Mo and Krill will also die for his aggression. So definitely a bit of an overextension. But on the opposite side of the map, you see what's happening here with the Kelvin and the Pocket, who are still pushing. So even though they lose 2 people here, they have the Lash pushing a walker, they have the Kelvin and the Pocket pushing another walker. And even though Mahjong and Krill gets 2 kills there, those kills don't actually lead to any objectives. So they're just playing on the back foot. And now Quig's team, the McGinnis' team, is going to be able to get another flex slot because they got 2 walkers, while Mahjong and Krill is only getting their first flex slot by killing this tower right here, and they still haven't even killed it. So even though they lost 2 people, from a macro perspective, it's totally fine, and most likely the McGinnis knew this going for this play, knew that, hey, even if I die here, it's okay because my team is on the opposite side of the map also pushing walkers. The reason that type of play works is because you can't just send 2 people to deal with the McGinnis, because if there wasn't a lot of people there, if you just send 2, you're not going to be able to kill the McGinnis fast enough before she gets the objectives, because with her heal, with Health Nova, with Rescue Beam, she's insanely tanky, and it takes a long time to kill her. That's why you need maybe 3 to 4 people to deal with that, and that's why Mahjong and Krill responded with great numbers. However, this created a lot of space for the rest of her team to do basically whatever they wanted, and the entire time, the Haze is also just farming. So with the itemization, same idea continues. Improved cooldown just allows you to have higher uptime on your abilities to support your team. And Spirit Armor just to be a little bit tankier. McGinnis actually has a ton of base Spirit Resist. So just with the items that she has 44 Spirit Resist and 30% Bullet Resist. So now in this example, we can see a more defensive approach to McGinnis, just standing on top of an objective, putting some turrets down, using the wall to delay enemies in order to protect an objectives. So here, McGinnis knows that they want to push this walker, and she's just kind of standing here and making it so they can't really do that. And then there's going to be a fight that actually happens in the other lane. And then even though there's a fight happening in the other lane, the McGinnis is staying here to defend this objective alone. And she's just putting the wall, just making sure that the Wraith can't shoot the objective, as well as just using turrets and heal defensively. And now she gets ulted by Wraith. But even though she gets ulted by Wraith, do you see the insane amount of healing? Like, she was not even close to death, even though the Wraith ulted. The Wraith has 11k more net worth than her, by the way. She has 14k, the Wraith has 25k. And she was still able to survive the Wraith's combo extremely easily and was not even close to dying. And that's really where the real power of support McGinnis lies. Once again, the enemy team is trying to pressure. McGinnis is just going to use the wall defensively, going to use the heal, stay on top of the tower, and like this objective with McGinnis and Kelvin defending it is just going to be so insanely difficult to take for Mahjong and Krill that even though they have gotten kills, it's going to be very, very hard for them to follow up and get anything out of them. Alright, so I fast forwarded quite a bit because there was a long period of time where both teams were completely even and they were just like shoving out lanes and nothing was happening. But here we have an interesting moment. So the teams here want to contest the urn. As you can see, it spawned recently, and here we have the Lash standing near it. I want to talk about the positioning here a little bit. So the McGinnis is on the high ground. The main reason for this is it's great visibility for the wall, so she can throw a wall from a long distance, as you can see, kind of help the Lash. And also, she has Rescue Beam, meaning if anyone on the low ground gets gone on, she can just Rescue Beam them up to the high ground. On the opposite, this was a good play by Hydration on the Ivy to just go to the high ground and try to push them off. And here there was a little bit of the misplay. So she actually wanted to Rescue Beam one of the people that was black holed, but I think accidentally misclicked on the Mo and Krill. And now she also didn't have wall to stop the black hole, and she's going to get refresher black holed by the Dynamo, meaning that this is going to be a pretty bad team fight for them. This was a little bit of a misexecution from, I think, multiple team members on Quig's team, but I do want to talk about the idea behind it, and I think the idea was good, which is, hey, if anybody gets black holed, I'm going to Rescue Beam them or stop it with the wall. Unfortunately, the wall was used a little bit prematurely, you could say, so it couldn't stop the black hole with it. So maybe a couple things that could have went better, but the ideas were still there. All right, I've paused the game because I want to talk about this play a little bit, and we'll see how it plays out. But here the idea is, hey, the enemy team, they just got mid-boss. As you can see, they all have the buff up here. And we know that they're going to try to turn in the urn. However, a lot of the time, when teams go to turn in the urn after they do mid-boss, they get a little bit, cocky. And they actually don't bring the entire team to turn in the urn because they feel like they're in an advantageous position and that the enemy team won't contest. Here we have Quig's team actually hide in ambush around the urn. So you have two people hiding in this little corner here where Quig is, and then you have two people coming on zipline, and you have Mo and Krill that's hidden right here. So it's going to be a little bit of an ambush setup. And just as predicted, Mahjong and Krill don't bring enough people here, so they do get a really big Wraith lift, but there's just too much healing. They can't get through it. The Wraith goes down. The Abrams is half health here, and he should be going down as well shortly. And now they've got a 6v4 fight, which they should be able to clean up. This wasn't necessarily due to the McGinnis's play, but this is just an example of how you can bait objectives in order to get advantageous fights. Let's do a little skill check progress. So Medicinal Spectre was maxed second, and then she put 2 points into turret. And as far as itemization goes, once again, we can see that this is mostly just to help out her team. Extended duration, duration extender for the healing, bullet resist shredder, and Hunter's Aura for the shred. So one thing to understand since the recent update is bullet resist is very, very prevalent in a lot of items, and it's easily, you can easily get 50-60% bullet resist. So it's very important to have shred on your team if you want to be able to do any sort of damage. So bullet resist as well as bullet resist shredder as well as Hunter's Aura here give pretty much a guaranteed minus 20% bullet resist at least, which is just good. And if there's only one person around, then you get a lot more shred than that. So it's just good utility. It's not really for the McGinnis to get solo kills. So here, this is going to be another example of a little bit more of a defensive position from the McGinnis. As you can see, Dynamo Black Holes, McGinnis stops it immediately with the wall, and then they use the Mo and Krill ult on the Dynamo. However, he was saved thanks to the cube. Goes for a second black hole, but it's just not good enough. And that's all thanks to the first black hole being completely ruined by the McGinnis. So you can really see the power of having the stun on the wall, and that's why, she maxed it first. Here, Wraith gets a lift. Once again, McGinnis wall stops the Wraith from being able to clean up that kill. And, it's just a lot of utility, and it's just really, really hard to deal with, right? The wall is just such a disruptive ability. It can catch people. It can protect your team. It can stun people. It just has so many different uses that are really good. And this is on top of just having, Health Nova, who's going to heal your entire team for 325 base, and then if you have 4 people, it's going to heal them for basically double that. So you're healing people for 600, and then you've got the healing people for 5% max health per second, and you can quickly see how the support McGinnis is extremely obnoxious to play against. And you guys should take these principles and apply them in your pub games if you're interested in playing this, because even though it is obviously better in organized play, this is also insanely strong in pubs, even if your teammates aren't organized. As you can see, another rescue beam save right there. Just with the amount of saves and heal that you have, this can win your teammates games, especially if you're duo queued with someone who's playing a character that just needs a little bit of support. So here they're deciding to stick around for a little bit. They do have a 6v5 going on, and they do have a significant advantage. They get another kill, and now there's a little bit of a skirmish going on. And you'll be able to see just the amount of healing that McGinnis is doing. She still does go down thanks to the IV Thorns. So this was a pre-nerf. So this build got nerfed just like yesterday, I believe, but this build is probably still broken even after the nerf, but we'll see. But in the tournament, it was just insanely broken. So the amount of damage it was doing, and with Healbane, so there's a little bit of anti-heal too, was just a little bit too much for the McGinnis healing to deal with. So for the first 6200 item that McGinnis buys, we're going to see Soul Rebirth. The idea behind Soul Rebirth is once you're 34 minutes into the game, it's just like a really, really good item, because if you die once, usually the game is over anyway, so you might as well have the second life, even though it gives you a longer respawn timer. Realistically, if they lose fights and they all die, the game's over, even if their respawn is 15 seconds shorter. So McGinnis buys it, and there's going to be a little bit of a skirmish on the right side here. And McGinnis right away just plops the heal, just a ton of sustain in a really large AoE. The heal now has a 9.6 meter radius, which is fairly significant. And we're going to see, her trying to take position on the high ground in order to maybe get a good wall off. Lash does go down pretty early, but she's still looking for a little bit of supporting abilities. The Ivy is just flying around throwing Torns, and it's very annoying. But her goal is just to try to get good walls and try to get a good heal, and that's basically all she wants to do in a fight. So I just want to replay this moment where the Abrams is going to go on her, and just to kind of once again showcase the idea. So she gets the wall off, helps her team out a little bit, rescue beams someone, and then there's an Abrams in the backline who's going on her, and she's standing, you know, near her heal, and there's just so much sustain. If you look at her health bar, she was like 50 health multiple times and just healing back up, because that heal gives you % max health, and with healing booster it gives you 6% max health regen per second, which is just a ton of sustain and just really hard to deal with. Gonna get the ultimate here in the corner, get a lot of damage on the Ivy as well as on the Yamato. I do believe that they will be losing this engage still, or it's actually very close. They're able to just heal so much, and the Yamato is struggling to kill them here. And this is just like they're healing 5% max health per second. Like, it's extremely hard to out damage that, as well as the health nova coming off cooldown once again. The rescue beam's off cooldown again, so this Yamato is actually not going to be able to get out at all. And, you know, they just didn't have the damage to cut through the healing. I guess another message to you guys, if you're playing against support McGinnis, like, anti-heal is incredibly important. You need to have heal bane, probably multiple heal banes, and, you know, some decays, some toxic bullets, things like that, because as you saw, like, the sheer amount of sustain that can be obtained is just ridiculous. So here they're getting mid boss, and I want to talk about Quig's positioning on the McGinnis a little bit. As you can notice here, he's just, you know, putting turrets, putting heal on the mid boss, but he's standing on the high ground. It's very important as McGinnis to have good visibility of the mid boss, because the wall is such an important ability. So as soon as the thing goes down, he'll be putting up a wall. They put up the Kelvin Ice Dome as well to just kill whoever is in there and secure the mid boss. And here they actually do get it stolen despite all of that. I do think that they kind of misused their abilities a little bit. They probably could have, you know, used the wall a little bit better. Was the Kelvin Dome necessary? Yeah, it's very easy to say in hindsight, right? I think overall they used their abilities fairly well. But they still win the fight because they had the superior positioning, and the enemy team had to, like, really try to use a lot of resources to secure it. So overall, it's still good, and I think that there is something to note from that positioning. You don't want to have everyone on top of the mid boss right away. That it's good to have, you know, 1 or 2 people on the high ground. So I fast forwarded to one of the last fights of the game. The fight is started off with a wall catching off the Abrams, forcing him to use his ultimate. So already, like, a big win. You're using a very short cooldown to force out Abrams' ult, which is, in comparison, a very long cooldown. It's 120 seconds. And then they were able to secure the urn as well off of that. And now they're in a fairly advantageous position. They're up almost 40,000 souls. They're up 287,000 to 250,000. And they're going to go here for the last engage and try to end the game. The wall once again starts off the fight, doesn't manage to catch off anyone, but that's kind of the idea. And if you catch someone with the wall, it's just an incredibly strong initiating tool. The Ivy Thorn's doing 1,000,000 damage, but doesn't matter because the McGinnis heal is just so much sustain. So here the McGinnis walks in on the right, looks in for any opportunities to try to catch off anyone or help her team. Looks like they're going to go for the end here as Hayes just ults unstoppable. McGinnis is on top of it. They get black hold. I think this was honestly a little bit of a misplay. This was just an incredibly risky play. They do all have a lot of soul rebirths though, so the McGinnis just spawns back up, cancels the black hole, huge wall, like stunning everyone. And I think that they are able to get the end here, but probably unnecessarily risky. The McGinnis probably should have played a little further back and just kept the wall to cancel the black hole and things like that. So looking at the scoreboard, we can see McGinnis did a total of 48,000 healing as well as 12,000 objective damage. As you can see, very little kills, only 1 kill and only 15k player damage. So, you know, nothing compared to some of the other players on the team in terms of damage output. But really the reason you're playing the support McGinnis is the rescue beam, the health nova, the healing booster, on top of the McGinnis heal, and just the wall. And the ultimate and the turrets are useful as well, but those are not the main reasons you're playing her. So I hope this helped you guys understand a little bit what to do as support McGinnis. If you like this type of video format, you know, leave a like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments what you'd like to see next. Thanks for watching.